Hello and welcome back to my channel. I'm Golden, and in this video I'll be explaining my thought process behind this Formula 1 poster. This will be a slightly different video. I'll be making more of a commentary over the clip that you watch in the background, and I hope you enjoy it. So about this design, I made this in honor of Oscar Piastri winning the Miami Grand Prix, and the thought process I had behind this was something fun, something that reflected the whole vibe of Miami, to give it that tropical feel. So when I was writing my notes, because I usually write like little notes when before making my designs, I included things like tropical aesthetics. I'm bringing out the McLaren color too. I also wanted to prominently feature Oscar in the design, and I then based my layout on all of that. And I was also trying a new kind of design. So before, in my previous F1 designs, most of them I make them in, should I say, something like a studio shot kind of, not quite, but let me explain what I mean. So what I mean is, I use the solid background fill layer, then shadows and lights to kind of create this feel as if it's in like a studio kind of with the colored background. But in this, I also wanted to introduce the road, and make it seem like it's in a high speed situation. So here's how I did that. So to start with, I made cutouts of the images. I usually get these images from Google. I think I'll make a separate video on how to get high quality images from Google, like you use in your own designs too. So I got about 3 images. One was a picture of him celebrating his win. Another was also a picture of him celebrating his win, and the next one was obviously the McLaren car, and by the way, it's so beautiful. And I just wanted to create something around the orange and black vibes, and so what I did was I went with a hero type of layout. So I had a giant image of him where he was celebrating as the main focus in the design. I then kept the smaller image of him celebrating to the right and towards the bottom. And what I also did was I used curves to experiment with lighting, and I've been getting more into using curves for lighting. I think in the future I will also create a video on how I do that, and it's actually fun, by the way. Next, I brought in the image of the McLaren car, and then also an image of a racetrack, and I had to make this so it looked natural in scale and lighting. And I think my favorite part of the design was when I brought in some text. So the giant text behind Oscar in the design is Nagasaki. That's the font name, and I used it to write the word Miami. But then when I wrote it, I realized that it didn't fully extend down towards the hero like I expected, and so I converted the text into a shape by right clicking and just choosing convert to shape. And then I used the path selection, direct selection too, to drag certain nodes down, especially on the M and the I, and so it had this kind of fang look to it. So when I brought in the text Miami, I could see that the composition was coming alive, and so with the hero shots, the celebration, the car, and the road, I just needed some other things to make it seem more race friendly. And what I ended up doing was create a fence And creating this fence was really exciting because I didn't have a full image of a racetrack fence. I checked online to see what kind of fences F1 track had, and I couldn't really find full ones. And so what I ended up doing was to download a fence. We actually not a full fence, but just a partial fence, barbed wire fence, yeah, like that. And I used rectangles, so shapes in Photoshop, to create like a wall underneath the fence, and then I added some shadows and highlights to make it seem more realistic. And I also darkened the fence as well as the wall, just so because there are certain places where the hero shot it's going to be blocking the lights, and my light source for this was coming from the left and towards the bottom and the right. So obviously if the light was coming from behind him, then the fence in that area will be darker. And yeah, so that's what I did after creating the fence. I also included like the McLaren logos, and then I added my personal logo as well, and also added some more um, lighting adjustment to the road and the car, and to add some sort of path blur to simulate some motion. Finally, I added the palm trees to create that tropical vibe. And then I figured out, if I was adding palm trees, and what else could I add to this composition to make it slightly better? And I came up with a, a group of jets streaming by. You know how this military fighter jets, like they fly by in ceremonies. And I was like, imagine jets actually flew by in the actual event. So that's what I did. I got some jet images, tried to create highlights from the light source that was coming from behind, and use the hue saturation to colorize those highlights. And then after that was done, I began masking away certain things that I did not want. And yeah, that was it. That was how I made this design. The next step was to color grade this design. And first, as always, as I do in all my design, I merged all available layers, and then I converted to a smart object because I wanted to retain the ability to make additional edits to my camera raw filter. And then I went into camera raw filter, played around with setting dials, obviously the contrast, the highlights, things like texture, a little bit of clarity because I did not want it to seem overly done. And then I added some sharpening. I always add sharpening. Added some sharpening, and I went to, I think, the color mixer. I did a little bit of the color mixer, and for the color grading, I then went to the color grading tab, and I used some kind of purplish tones for the shadows. So that's why it has a little bit of purple tinge in the shadow area. And yeah, that was it. If you want to take your designs, make them pop even more, like colors, I'll always advise using the camera raw filter. It's very, very important, and you can make like your work go from these muted hues to very vibrant ones. Though not, don't overdo it, like per project you see how it works, and that's how I made this. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, comment, and most importantly, subscribe. And if you would like to download this poster, actually, I'll leave a link in the description as well as a pinned comment to my GUMROAD shop. I'm trying to add more items to my GUMROAD shop, or there you could find some PSDs, some posters. For all the posters there, they are free, but PSDs may not be. Done. I'm planning to release a free PSD in the nearest future. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this one, and why not check out the next video being suggested to you right now.